Okay, so what is the situation in the capital? The CBRE report suggests that it's seen a much more modest increase in residential rates, only 0.6% on average in the year to March 2022. But what is the reality on the ground? I'm joined on the line now by Andrew Covill. He's an Abu Dhabi real estate agent with the company Henry Wiltshire International. Hi, Andrew. How are you doing?
Hi, Georgia. Very well, thanks.
Pleasure to have you on the line. Now, have you noticed rents going up in Abu Dhabi, and is it by more than the CBRE report suggests?
Short answer is yes. I think what we're looking at is a very wide average here. It very much depends on what and where. I'll pick sort of two or three key areas with different property stocks. We've got the likes of Ream Island, which is, there's a lot of supply, very much high rise, a lot with no balconies. This is fairly stable. If anything, some of the buildings are slipping a little bit. If we then sort of jump to Raha Beach, which typically is lower rise apartments, balconies by the sea, some townhouses, generally there we're seeing some increases. It's a little bit seasonal, dependent on the stock. And we've seen probably the smaller ones are fairly stable or slipped a little bit, depending on the season, the 1 and 2 bedrooms. But the 3, 4 bedrooms, the townhouses, definitely moving up sort of 10, 15%, up to 20, 30 in some cases.
Wow.
And then, and then I think the third category is villa communities. We're seeing increases of anywhere between 10 and 50%. In the villa communities.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm in shock, basically. I mean, can you imagine if your rent went up like 50% in a year? That'd be a nightmare.
So I think there's sort of widely reported over COVID, people have moved from smaller apartments to larger, no balcony to balcony, 2-bedroom to 3-bedroom, townhouse to villa. And I think that's really exacerbated the upper end of the market. And the villas that are actually in quite short supply in the capital. We've been saying for a long time, where are all the villas from the expats? And I think for a long time, people made do, stayed in smaller apartments, saved as much as they can. I think apart from what we've seen across the world, there's actually been a realisation in the UAE that's actually, this is a good place to live. There's been a lot of news in the last few days on the visas, a lot of government initiatives. Quality of life has improved dramatically in the 14 years I've lived here. So I think people are actually putting more into their home now. They're happy to invest more in the rent and move to a villa rather than a townhouse or a bigger apartment, or have that balcony and spend a bit more money on their accommodation, because they're probably, rather than the 2 or 3 years maybe they thought they were going to be here, often we're seeing 5, 10 plus years.
Are landlords asking, because there's two different sort of markets here, isn't there? There's the empty apartment or the empty villa, and you get a new person in, and then there's the sitting tenant. Are landlords asking for big increases from their sitting tenants, so to speak?
Yes, I think, again, it depends on the category, but if we focus in on where the biggest demands and the higher market rates or increases are in the villas and townhouses, the sort of 10 to 15%, usually people are negotiating that. There are some bigger ones, some of the very exclusive villa communities, villas by the beach or on the golf course, where we are seeing sort of 40 to 50% in the last 1 or 2 years. And I think there it comes down to fair negotiation. I think, listening to Timur's quote a minute ago, it is coming off a low base, and I think people need to remember that. And suddenly we're getting a lot of new people here. So the dynamics have changed pretty dramatically. So, if people want to remain in the property and don't want to be given notice, I think, it's negotiating what's fair at the moment. Or buying. And a lot of people now are switching from renting to buying.
I mean, you can understand why landlords would want to put prices up. You know, they've had pretty slim pickings over the last 2 to 5 years. And so, you know, once there's an opportunity to make your asset make money for you, then you might, you know, you want to take advantage of that. I mean, if the increase is very high, you know, a tenant gets that dreaded letter through the door or that dreaded email where someone is asking for a massive increase. Is there anything they can do? Because Abu Dhabi is different to Dubai, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Essentially, the landlord can give a notice more than 2 months before the expiry of the lease. So, you know, if the rent is completely out of kilter with the current markets, we are seeing landlords giving notice to the tenants, and they are now able to do that in Abu Dhabi. As you rightly say, it's different in Dubai, where I believe you have to give a year's notice, and it's a different process. So landlords are giving notice, but I think in a lot of cases they're just saying, look, let's sit down and talk and let's come up with something fair in between.
Interesting stuff. Thank you so much, Andrew. One last question. Do you think this spike is going to continue? Do you see it coming to an end anytime soon?
I think it comes down to supply and demand, and there are more communities planned and under construction, but they're going to take 2 or 3 years, some of these new communities, to be delivered. So I think, you know, it will continue for some time. I think, as I mentioned, a lot of people are now switching to buying for various reasons. The security, putting down roots, mortgages are cheaper. There's a lot of reason why. So that's bringing some people out of the rental market. But there are a lot of new people coming into Abu Dhabi, which is great to see. So I think they're certainly replacing them. And I think the demand will continue.
Well, that's good news for estate agents such as yourself, and that is fair enough. So lovely to have you on the radio. Thank you so much for your insights, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Georgia.
Thank you very much indeed. That is Andrew Covill. He's an Abu Dhabi real estate agent of many, many years' experience with Henry Wiltshire International.